Greetings, everybody. I had some questions from people over the months, which was the same question kept appearing. That which edition of Beelzebub's Tales, All and Everything by G.I. Gurdjieff should I be reading? And I strongly advise to read the 1950 edition. It comes in many different publications. It's been reprinted many times, but do check it's the 1950 edition you're reading, I think, myself personally, because there was an edition made in 1992, I think it was. There was like a rewrite of it. I was to believe it was to do with Madame de Salzman. They wanted to rewrite it so that it was more accessible to people. But I think that takes away everything that Gurdjieff himself was trying to do. He was trying to make it a difficult book to read because he wants you to fathom the gist, as he says. So I found out about the 1992 one when I went to a seminar once, and I didn't want to carry all my books to America on Beelzebub's Tales. At that time, I had the 1950 edition. You can get it in 3 parts, so I had 3 separate books. And I didn't want to carry them all the way there, and I found a Kindle edition, so I put it on my Kindle. It's going quite cheaply. And when I was there, we started doing one of the seminars, one of the reading groups, and I realised mine wasn't following what they were all saying. And that's how I found out that there was this other edition that had been made in the 1990s. And I think it takes away a lot of the emphasis. And it doesn't make one ponder as much, probably because they're trying to make it more accessible. Maybe it works for some people, I don't know, but I think that one should stick to what Gurdjieff himself wrote. There's also a 1931 edition that he wrote, obviously in 1931, and he used that on, or we used to have that read to some of the people that used to come to his flat in France. And I think he realized that it wasn't quite doing the job that he wanted it to do, so that's why he rewrote it, so they're now in the 1950 edition. And I'm just going to read the friendly advice that's at the front of my 1950 edition. I have this copy, which actually does have some pages missing. So again, it's difficult. You've got to find the one that's got them all. My one's got a few pages missing on page 588. I haven't got my other version around, the more recent up-to-date one, which is like got a picture of a carpet or something on the front of it. If you wanted a Kindle edition, Robin Blaw's put a Kindle version out. That's the 1950 version as well. I think he's also done the 1931. But anyway, Gurdjieff wrote at the beginning in his friendly advice, written impromptu by the author on delivering this book already prepared for publication to the printer. According to the numerous deductions and conclusions made by me during experimental elucidations concerning the productivity of the perception by contemporary people of new impressions from what is heard and read, and also according to the thought of one of the sayings of popular wisdom I have just remembered, handed down to our days from very ancient times, which declares, any prayer may be heard by the higher powers, and a corresponding answer obtained only if it is uttered thrice. Firstly, for the welfare or the peace of the souls of one's parents. Secondly, for the welfare of one's neighbour. And only thirdly, for oneself personally. I find it necessary on the first page of this book, quite ready for publication, to give the following advice. Read each of my written expositions thrice. Firstly, at least as if you've already become a mechanized to read all your contemporary books and newspapers. Secondly, as if you were reading aloud to another person. And only thirdly, try and fathom the gist of my writings. Only then will you be able to count upon forming your own impartial judgment, proper to yourself alone, on my writings. And only then can my hope be actualized that according to your understanding, you'll obtain the specific benefit for yourself which I anticipate, and which I wish for you with all my being. Signed, the author. And that's quite important. That's why I think his books shouldn't not have been rewritten. He's asking you to read his words, because his words will have an effect upon you if you do it in the right way, as he says, in the 3 ways. First, reading it like a newspaper. Secondly, as if you're reading it to somebody else. And thirdly, to fathom the gist. And I think any changing of the writings that he put down, that he approved, the 1950 version. You know, he died in the year before, but he'd obviously already approved it all and spoken to the people that were involved in the translations and the typing up. And there's many biographies that talk about this, and they're quite fascinating to read how people worked with Gurdjieff. So the book, All and Everything, I feel like it's kind of like an initiation, but you have to go through it 3 times, as he says here, which is why I highly recommend reading the book. But there are also audio versions out there, and I'm sure that's just as good as reading the book. So I wonder if the power of the word, the written writing, is going into your eyes, down into your subconscious, that then comes back up into your conscious. Hopefully hearing it would do the same thing. I've put an audio version up in the Internet Archive. I've done some on YouTube, but I need to finish off making them into films. And I know other people have. You know, Tony Blake's done a wonderful version. I've got Harold Good, he's done a fantastic version as well. Fantastic person as well. Well, they all are. So, because people have been asking, oh, which versions I use, I'm concerned now that maybe you're trying to find the quotes that I've been reading, and if they're not ringing or being the same as what I'm saying, maybe you've got the wrong version. So I'm advising you all, get the 1950 version of All and Everything, Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson, also known as, you know, the impartial, what was it? As he says here, the objectively impartial criticism of the life of man. And it is. It really helps you to see how different people work. You know, he says somewhere about how the characters, hopefully you will recognize and see them in other people, you know, the psyche of how people operate. And also the psyche of how, as a communities operate and how people change things over time. You know, he talks about Ashiata Shirmashi's sayings being changed over the centuries by different generations. And that does seem to happen with everything. You know, something starts off fresh and new, and then a few generations later, or maybe even the next generation, somebody thinks, oh, I can say this better. And change somebody's writings. You know, things change all the time, they do evolve, and Gurdjieff did encourage people to continue his writings, as in writing other chapters to go with it on such, like, and Tony Blake, myself and a few others performed Anthony Blake's extra chapter that he made of set in the future, or to do with I think it was Beelzebub's granddaughter or great-granddaughter. Anyway, terrible, I can't remember it properly, but I'll send a link to the end of this video. So it's okay to progress something, but maybe not to change something from its original. If you see what I mean, we could do additions and extras that go along, that continue to it, you know, like sequels or prequels, but we don't change the original. So that's all I wanted to do a little show about, because, as I say, some people were asking about which edition they should read. And as I say, with my one that I've got here, I wish I had the other one at hand to show you. This one's got a few pages missing from it. So that's a bit concerning that they didn't publish it properly. But it's still a good book to read. But yeah, that's all from me. Till next time.